Everybody is happy, whether it's Jewish or Muslim or the Arab countries. Every country is dancing in the streets, and it's a point in time I don't think you'd ever see it again.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Columbus Day, Monday, October the 13th, 2025, 10/13/25. You're definitely going to want to write that in your journal. President Trump arriving in Israel early this morning after the overnight release of 20 living hostages held by Hamas for the past 2 years, as Red Cross buses transported Palestinian prisoners out of Israel. This is President Trump addressing the Israeli parliament.
Cherished citizens of Israel, we gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity.
And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu introducing President Trump and thanking him.
President Trump, the Knesset welcomes you and your distinguished delegation to Jerusalem, our eternal capital. This is your first visit to Israel since you recognize Jerusalem as our capital and moved the embassy here. Thank you, President Trump, for that. There are many other reasons to thank you since your last visit here. Thank you for recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Thank you for standing up to the lies against Israel in the United Nations. Thank you for recognizing in your 2020 peace plan our rights in Judea and Samaria, the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. Thank you for brokering the historic Abraham Accords. Abraham, Eskemei Avraham. Thank you for withdrawing from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. Thank you for supporting Operation Rising Lion and for your bold decision to launch Operation Midnight Hammer. Boy, is that, you got to hear this. This is the most fitting name ever named for a military operation, because a little after midnight, you really hammered them. My friends, this is only a partial list, but it's enough to affirm what I've said time and again. Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu now traveling to Egypt for a peace summit on the future of the region. We will have that for you on Newsmax as well. This is Newsmax host Ed Henry with Alan Dershowitz.
Joining us now live, Professor Emeritus, Harvard Law School, author of The Preventive State, Alan Dershowitz. Professor, thanks for coming in, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Seems like a defining moment, not just in this president's second term, but any president. Talk about where you put this in history tonight, sir.
Oh, it's a very, very important day. One cannot imagine a President Kamala Harris having pulled this off, or President Joe Biden having pulled this off. This required the unique combination of the skills, the negotiating skills of President Trump and the military skills of the Israeli army. Without Israel's military successes in wiping out Hezbollah, destroying Hamas, hurting Iran's nuclear reactor, I don't think any negotiation would have been possible. So it's this wonderful combination of American diplomacy and military prowess from Israel that resulted in this great and important day. It also shows how important it is for the United States and Israel to work together, and how important it is for these idiots on college campuses to stop their protests and to stop calling for the end of Israel and to try to work together for a peaceful Middle East. Remember, these useful idiots on college campuses have no interest in a Palestinian state or the Palestinian people. They just want to see the end of Israel. They want to see the Jewish state. They want to, if they could, see the end of the Jewish people. So this is hate versus constructive building, and I'm hoping maybe we can build on this and move toward a more permanent resolution of Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords. All of this is a good step.
Well, you raise another important point, which is what of the state of the Free Palestine movement tonight, because we're hearing that the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is expected now to be in Egypt as well with President Trump and other leaders in the region. And it's President Trump that is making sure aid is now getting into Gaza. At the same time that he's getting Israeli hostages freed. So where does that leave the Free Palestine movement that wants to wipe Israel off the map when it's an American president working with Israelis and the Palestinians to bring all of these important people together, sir?
Well, there are several different movements. There's the Free Palestine movement, which means the end of Israel. That's not getting anywhere. It will still resonate on college campuses. The Norwegian soccer team will scream and yell at the World Cup, free Palestine, and Israel. European governments will recognize the non-existent state of Palestine. That's not going to happen. The other alternative is a movement, maybe over 10 years, toward a two-state solution. But that two-state solution has to start with the Palestinians recognizing Israel's right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people. I've met with Mahmoud Abbas personally just over dinner and asked them directly, would you recognize Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people? And he said, absolutely not. So without that, we're not going to have a two-state solution, because what the extremists want is not two states, but one state. They want to see something called Palestine replace the viable state of Israel.
Right.
Professor Alan Dershowitz with Ed Henry. And that is the big question now. What happens next? How will it happen? How long will it take? Only time will tell, right? Rita Cosby spoke with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert ahead of today's events.
Mr. Prime Minister, your reaction to the fact that we're at this moment, and it really took an extraordinary amount of leadership, especially by the American president, to pull together all these different Arab countries that were deeply involved. Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, others. How pivotal was that leadership, and how extraordinary that all these Arab countries, some of them who don't get along with each other, but they're here for this mission?
Well, I have to say, I know that President Trump is always raising lots of different comments in America for obvious reasons, part of your politics. But I knew for a long time that he is perhaps the only person on earth that had the power to create what has happened now. That he was the only one who had the the leadership, the strength, the influence on all the different factions that were involved to create it. And I kept saying to him several times in my different interviews across the world that he is the only one that can say to the participants, but I have to say first and foremost to the Israeli Prime Minister, who we blame for not wanting to do what needed to be done, that it's all over. It has to stop. Enough is enough. And that's what he finally did. He finally did it. He is the one, all the credit should go to him. It's as simple as that. If he had not ordered the Israeli Prime Minister to accept his plan for the ceasefire, had he not assembled all the different participants, the Qataris, the Turks, the Egyptians, and all the others, it would never happen. Entirely independent of any controversy that he is part of as President of America and all other things that are part of the international agenda, we deeply thank him for restoring a brief shining moment of joy to our lives.
Absolutely. And of course, we pray that all of us will be smiling when we see those hostages coming out. And let's hope they all come out, the 20 and, of course, the remains, sadly, of those others. But pray that they all come home. Mr. Prime Minister, it's so wonderful and so powerful to be speaking with you right now. And look forward to talking with you again soon. And pray that all of them are back home with their loved ones very, very soon. Thank you.
Newsmax host Rita Cosby with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. During that conversation, Rita was showing video from Israel of multiple billboards around the country that say, "Thank you, President Trump." Israel's hostage coordinator said last week that a task force was being formed to help find the remains of any dead hostages that Hamas could not locate and does not turn over. Sunday, President Trump warned Russia that he may send Ukraine long-range Tomahawk missiles if Moscow doesn't start to settle its war soon, suggesting that he could be ready to increase the pressure on Vladimir Putin beyond the economic sanctions to get that war to come to an end finally. And going into the weekend, the Middle East ceasefire, the pending release of the hostages was, of course, the big story, right? Along with the Friday stock market sell-off after Trump's comments on China trade, which he downplayed over the weekend, saying everything will be fine. And last week's indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James. Lydia Serrani spoke with Sam Antar, the forensic accountant who uncovered the alleged mortgage fraud by Attorney General James. He's been featured in the Newsmax Daily before and says this is only the beginning.
James posting this just last year on X. When powerful people cheat to get better loans, it comes at the expense of hardworking people. And when she's not smirking for the cameras like she loved to do, especially when she was sitting behind Trump in court, Tish James said this over and over again.
My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
Yeah, finally something I can agree with you on, Tish. No one is above the law. Not an attorney general or a president of the United States. That you will weaponize the justice system to go after, right? Trump was hit with 91 charges. Where were the calls of tyranny then? Where were they? Oh, everybody does this then. But you know what? They all failed because they were all bogus. Many in the Democrat Party did everything they could to destroy Donald Trump. They tried to destroy his marriage. They tried to destroy his family and, of course, his legacy and his path to the White House. And I truly believe had he not become the president of the United States, that was his mugshot. Where's Tish's mugshot? He would likely be behind bars as we speak for the simple fact that he wouldn't play ball with them. He's too honest, if you think about it, for his own good. He became too great of a threat to the Democrat grift, to the very deep state they'll tell you doesn't even exist. But Big Tish is learning along with several others like Jack Smith and James Comey, Adam Schiff, a few others, that karma is a dish best served cold. Let's go deeper into that forensic accountant who first exposed Big Tish, the one, the only. Forensic accountant Sam Antar. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
So, is this political? Because you just heard Chuck Schumer talk. This is all political witch hunt. This is a weaponization of the Justice Department. Are you part of the Trump administration? Because you're the first one who actually put this all together.
First of all, I don't give a damn about Trump. I couldn't care less if it's political or not political. That's not my game. My game is forensic accounting. My game is showing proof, and that's what I've done. Every single allegation that I've made regarding her is backed up by documents, and that's why they indicted her. Now, they indicted her on only one property so far, which is her Peroni Avenue property in Norfolk, Virginia. She has two other properties where she's committed serial mortgage fraud, a pattern of mortgage fraud. The other one is also in Norfolk, Virginia. It's on Sterling Street. And the third property is in Brooklyn. She's committed mortgage fraud over a period of 43 years, 13 mortgages containing false information. She put her signatures on the documents, and those documents are easily publicly sourced, which I did.
Was this a simple mistake? I mean, it's one thing if somebody like I'm not an attorney. Is this a simple mistake that she could have made? Which I find hard to believe, considering she is the top attorney of New York State.
Well, the media would have you believe that this is an isolated incident because they don't want to talk about the other properties that she's going to be indicted for, which I believe she's going to be indicted for.
This is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning, okay? There's something, they put their foot in the door on this property. There's going to be superseding indictments. But when you look at one property by itself, it makes it easier for them to say it's a one-off, it's a mistake, okay? But when you look at the pattern of behavior spanning to 1983, you say every single mortgage that she signed contained false information.
Forensic accountant Sam Antar on Newsmax. He says every single mortgage that she signed going all the way back to 1983 contained false information. So it's not a simple mistake or a one-off, as he put it, and we'll hear more about that throughout this upcoming week. Today is Columbus Day, as I mentioned at the open. It is a federal holiday in the U.S. of A., with the exception of several states that do not recognize it, including Alaska and Hawaii. Federal offices are closed, so is the post office. Many banks and many schools also closed today. However, the stock market is open today, and it is rallying, which we'll get to in a moment. Last week, President Trump, you may recall, signed a proclamation reclaiming Columbus Day, what he called the famed explorer's extraordinary legacy of faith, courage, perseverance, and virtue, saying today would not be known as Indigenous Peoples Day. President Biden was the only president to officially recognize today as Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. New Mexico, Maine, and Vermont are three states that recognize today as both days, but there are several other days throughout the course of the year that pay tribute to Native Americans. And thanks to the storm hitting the East Coast, today's annual Columbus Day Parade in New York City, one of, if not the biggest in the country, and was probably going to be even bigger and better this year, has been canceled due to the weather. Multiple states, including New York, dealing with beach erosion and severe flooding due to the storm. Multiple states up and down the East Coast. On Wall Street, as I mentioned, the stock market is open today, and they are sharply higher. The Dow and the Nasdaq both opening around 400 points higher off of the fantastic news out of Israel. The bond market is closed for the holiday. Gold and silver are also higher today and continue trading near all-time highs. Gold is over $4,000 an ounce. Silver closing in on $50 an ounce. If you're looking to create a stable financial future and perhaps you want to learn more about gold and silver, you should look into Noble Gold Investments. You've probably seen them before on Newsmax. I called Noble Gold to get some information, and I was pleasantly surprised. They offered a lot of great information, a lot of education without the pressure. I even spoke with the CEO, a guy named Colin Plume, who seemed like a regular guy, nice guy, but he also wrote a best-selling book about silver being the new oil. In fact, that's the name of it. Silver is the new oil. Maybe you want to purchase gold or silver directly, or maybe want to set up a gold IRA. They make the process really easy. They have no hidden fees, and they're even available on Saturday, which I loved because probably like you, I don't have much time during the work week. And this is cool too. If you have a gold IRA, they will send you a picture of your actual gold in the vault. And as a listener to the podcast or a Newsmax viewer, you can now take advantage of a great limited time offer. If you open a new qualified IRA or cash account with Noble Gold, you get a free 10-ounce silver flag bar plus a silver American Eagle proof coin. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com/Newsmax. noblegoldinvestments.com/Newsmax and get free silver. noblegoldinvestments.com/Newsmax. Okay, so President Trump is in Egypt for what's being called a peace summit with Israel and several other countries on the future of Gaza and the Middle East. Then he'll be heading back to the White House tonight. Wow, that is a heck of a 36 hours, right? The government shutdown, meanwhile, continues. Wednesday would be the day that the troops would not get paid, the 15th, but President Trump said over the weekend he would not let that happen. He instructed the Pentagon to use reserve monies to make sure the troops get paid, and hopefully by the next payday, the government shutdown will be resolved. Be sure to keep up with all of today's historic news and any breaking developments on Newsmax N2 and at Newsmax.com. We'll have reports from Israel, of course, throughout the day, and a slew of special guests and Middle East experts as well. It all starts each and every morning, 6 o'clock Eastern with Alex Kramer, followed by Wake Up America, National Report, Newsline at noon, American Agenda, straight through Carl Higbee at 6, Rob Schmidt tonight, Finnerty, Greg Kelly, Ed Henry, Todd Starnes, Chris Salcedo, and much, much more. I'm Tony Marino. Enjoy the rest of your day, especially if you have the day off. Enjoy the history of the moment and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.